pretend like he was surrendering with his hands up and then was about to shoot when Kyle apparently shot him in the arm. But again, it's an open question. Is this even real? So I've been looking at the body cam footage from Gage Grosskreuz's second DUI or DWI arrest, and I'll show you what I came up with. Now, I didn't sit through all 3 hours of these videos. What I did is I sped it up to about 1.75, and I scrolled through until I found a couple of select shots where you could actually see Gage during the proceedings where they take off his handcuffs, and you can see him with his arm as exposed as it will ever be, I suppose, and he's got some kind of like a black, it's not a cast because it's flexible. It looks like a thick sock or some kind of a protective garment over his arm. So, it's kind of hard to say that there's no evidence that this guy was really shot, but I'll put it on the screen. So if you're looking at the screen right now, his right arm is covered up. And I also want to point out that in the body cam footage, he was laying his arm on his other leg like it was limp. So he's either a really good actor and very consistent, or this is part of the charade. Let me see what the commenters had to say. It says, Kenosha County has failed in its duty to charge Grosskreutz with brandishing and pointing a gun at Kenosha during the riots. His second charge of driving under the influence proves that you can't fix stupid. Concerned citizen says Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. Jay says, incorrect, he missed Gage's head. Yeah, I'd say he was very charitable by only shooting the arm that held had the gun hand. But what was Kyle guilty of anything? Yeah, I guess. I'm sure he was violating his bedtime. I'm pretty sure he got grounded. But other than that, does he deserve a year in solitary confinement for self-defense? I don't think so. He should be found guilty of having extremely good aim, if you think about it. I mean, imagine walking into a crowd that's burning down a city, burning cars, fighting, basically on a rampage, and then you shoot 3 people that nobody would ever miss. I mean, I would say that's excellent aim. Magic bullet almost. All right, let's go ahead and see who's in the comments here. I'm talking about this because Kyle's in the news, and just a few minutes ago, I got off of a call in the Discord server with an individual from Kenosha who was close enough to actually hear it. And he knows somebody who knows somebody that has him thinking that Gruber, the guy who brought the skateboard to the gunfight, is a crisis actor and is very much alive. So there's a happy ending here. For some reason, if you felt sorry for a few expendable commie agitators, hey look, they're probably still alive. All right, I'm going through your comments, everyone, so I appreciate everybody leaving messages here. Yurt Mama says, greetings. Infinite Plane Radio, infinite consciousness is ours. Romulus32 says they're going to bring in mandatory vax for NHS and social care staff in the UK. Anyone else get the clot shot? I'm holding out for the vax drones. Osher says elbow cough, elbow cough, elbow cough. No Despair Bear says skate or die. Yeah, he chose die. I've never actually seen that question posited in any serious way, and I was like, what? Skate or die? He made the wrong choice. And if you watch that scene, he clutched his chest in a very dramatic way, overly dramatic, like the way Bugs Bunny would fake like he was shot by Elmer Fudd. Like these government actors are not believable. The story makes it unbelievable as well. Like, it's a little odd to me that Gruber, the skateboard guy, was friends with Blake, the one who was shot by Rusty Shackelford. Is that the name of the cop? I mean, these names are ridiculous. So Jacob Blake. By the way, he was visited by Kamala Harris while he was in the hospital. I don't know if he was handcuffed to the bed. So the name of the officer was Rustin Shesky. And when I heard Rustin Shesky, for some reason, it stood out to me, and it made me think about Rusty Shackleford. Like, I would just say it's proximal. Like, I'm just going to add a Y to it and search and see if Rusty Shackleford comes up. And if you don't know who Rusty Shackleford is, it's a character from King of the Hill who's like the conspiracy theorist. He would be the QAnoner. Rusty Shackleford. Any relation? Well, yeah, they're trying to frame this up as racist, conspiracy theorists, right-wing paranoids committing these crimes, and they would obviously want to connect it with some character like this. And then we got brain laundry. We'll talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about brain laundry next. Maxwell Cooper says that's a compression sleeve that basketball players wear. Right. Well, just so you know, as far as the timeline goes, so he gets shot in late August, and his DUI is in October. So it's just a couple months away, and it does look like one of those. His arm did seem limp. Supposedly he lost a chunk of his bicep, but again, I don't know. I mean, short of twisting the guy's arm, how are you going to know? I was hoping we would have found something conclusive. Now, somebody posted this in Discord. I don't quite know what it means, but it's nothing new here. It's just Joe Biden. But he appears to be giving me a shout out.
Not a joke. Not a joke, folks. Not a joke. Not a joke as well. Tim, where's Tim? Where's Tim? Tim, where's Tim?
Anyway, thanks for whoever posted that. The hologram in chief. It's still open, for debate. Who is playing the president? I'm not talking about who's pulling the strings, but who's behind the mask? Is it Jim Carrey? Is it somebody suggested James Wood, which is James Wood's nose wouldn't fit in that Biden's nose. The nose, the skull structure kind of matches, but the nose doesn't match. But a lot of people are open to the idea that this whole thing is just a charade, which it is. But I've been looking at this thing, and my best guess is it's Beau. I believe that Beau Biden is wearing the Joe Biden disguise, where they just age him with makeup. There may have been a few places where they played the character out with Jim Carrey, possibly. And whose arm was that? If you watch the staged setup of Joe Biden with the intravenous needle ritual on the stage, the booster thing, you could see that wasn't the regular Joe. This guy had a patch of hair on his shoulder. All right, let's go ahead and get through the other things I wanted to talk about. Will Dave Chappelle face cancellation for transphobic jokes and space Jews stand-up routine? So Dave Chappelle, who's usually out here reinforcing the major psyops of the day, has now run afoul of the woke audience. He's ridiculed gender pronouns and trans people, which, it's low-hanging fruit, easy targets. I don't know the angle of it here. Complaining about gender pronouns in 2021 is like complaining about the fact that people still want to wear masks. You can't do anything about these things. But, I guess, but it's on Netflix. And so people are calling for cancellation. But the other thing I wanted to focus on is the thing about the space Jews. Because I remember a few months ago, I think it was Marjorie Taylor Greene had said something about Jewish space lasers. And I don't know if these things are related. Okay, so Marjorie Taylor Greene reports sightings of Jewish space lasers. And this is a reference to the theory that the wildfires in California are being caused by satellite-borne direct energy weapons. And Congresswoman Greene connects these weapons to the Rothschilds. And this caused Jewish space laser to trend on Twitter. So on Forbes, did Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene blame space lasers for wildfires? Yes, she did. So that may be a separate situation. Now, Dave Chappelle, and this is his Netflix show called The Closer, and I think he even said this is going to be his last, so I think he knows what he did here. So this is kind of funny. Even without listening to the jokes, it's kind of a funny situation if this is some kind of a Is he throwing a spanner in the works here? Dave Chappelle makes, quote, space Jews joke in Netflix special. He said that he's seen various videos about UFOs coming to the Earth, and he came up with this idea for a movie, quote, in my movie idea, we find out that the aliens are originally from Earth, that they're an ancient civilization that achieved interstellar travel. They left the Earth thousands of years ago to some other planet. Things go terrible for them there, so they come back to Earth and they decide they want to claim it for their own. It's a good plot line called Space Jews. So you can kind of see the subtext here, and you can see why this would be shocking and offensive to a lot of people. So this isn't about the direct energy weapons, but it is about, well, a thinly disguised way of redescribing another narrative that you might consider to be anti-Semitic. I'm going to play a short clip, though. Actually, it's bad audio, and I don't want to risk any kind of flagging here on the account. I'm going to play 5 seconds.
Some other planet they go to, and things go terrible for them on the other planet. So they come back to Earth.
So they come back to Earth, I have closed captioning, and decide they want to claim the Earth for their own. And here's the laugh line.
I call it Space Jews.
I think I heard some laughter. Anyway, that's the story with Dave Chappelle at the moment. All right, we're going through some comments. Hand Planer says Dave's going to team up with Owen Benjamin in an off-grid ex-Hollywood witness protection program. Right, you know, if he went over there to the Beartopia compound, it would get Waco'd. And I think they want that to happen. And if you're not familiar with that, we talked about that a little bit last night. The Daily Beast and their take on Owen Benjamin's campground he created. They think it's going to be the next Ruby Ridge, or they're going to have to somehow flush them out with fire. Alt-right comedian Owen Benjamin wants to create a refuge for his internet friends in Ohio, but his neighbors worry it will be the next Ruby Ridge. Now, as far as I know, they just want to do homesteading. I don't know if they're actually going to be training for some kind of final battle or Armageddon. Okay, so there you have it. Dave Chappelle, is he going to be canceled? We will see. It's like they don't have any use for him now. They had plenty of use for him after the George Floyd event, where he came out and he said, I have a lot in common with George Floyd because I think what he said was he was 8 pounds and, no wait, it was his birth date lined up with, let me bring this up actually, because it was a 27-minute Netflix thing. I want to show you what I mean. This surprises me that he's doing something that might actually get him canceled. So he did this special called 846. And this is a 2020 performance special. And of course, 846 references a couple of things. The exoteric is that's how long Derek Chauvin knelt on Floyd. Now, ritualistically, these names all mean something. We can talk about the names, Derek Chauvin, and how the subtext tells us that he was 9/11ing America. 846 is actually the time that the first of the towers was hit. So anyway, he has this special called 846, and he talks about how it's connected to him because he was born at 846. Now, the sun set in the Twin Cities that day at 846. So you got the sunset, you got the time that he's being asphyxiated, being correlated. And this is where it gets very much into the ritualistic aspect. And the tie-ins to 9/11 are endless. Appreciate the support, Thirst for Truth, with the super chat there. There's a link below if you want to support the channel in this way. As you've seen, we're consistently being demonetized, defunded, kicked off various platforms because of what we talk about so candidly. Because we don't believe in adhering to censorship. We don't self-censor. We don't mask our minds. So we are completely 100% crowd-funded. And most of our best ideas are crowdsourced. I mean, it is a think tank. So we appreciate people who can pitch in and all of our patrons who keep this going. Okay, so Chappelle's time of birth was 846. So that's a big connection to him. And then on top of that, his great grandfather played a very similar historical role in defending somebody who had been lynched. So here you have Dave Chappelle serving the system, reinforcing the major psyops, and they have all the time in the world for him, and he doesn't have to be funny on that one. But now he makes a couple of bad jokes, and it's cancellation time. And the people who want to cancel Dave Chappelle for these jokes, and again, these are jokes, don't care to cancel other shows that I think ought to be canceled on Netflix, like the one about trafficking little girls. What's it called? Cuties. Okay, let's talk about brain laundry for just a moment. I think we talked about this a bit yesterday. The Brian Laundrie, and of course, this is a big operation. It's a brainwashing part of the mind control operation. So the fact that they named him Brian Laundrie is obviously a joke. And I've been bored by it until I heard that Dog the Bounty Hunter got involved. And he's been hunting Dog the Bounty Hunter has been following a trail. They found a can of Monster Energy that they believe was his. They found a shoe, which they believe somehow, I guess, relates to this thing. I mean, it's obvious that we're dealing with a TV show when they bring in these TV characters. So I'm not going to pay much attention to it unless they get Steven Seagal involved. Now, the next thing, I mean, look, you can connect a couple of dots and just rule that thing out. Like, there's no reason to mourn Gabby Petito. Just the fact that she and I believe her brothers were all involved in some Sandy Hook music video means you're looking at an actress. Social media influencer, actress. So right now, she's probably got... All right, everybody, I'm pausing that for just a moment here. And let me read some comments here. Victoria says, watch E. Scorpio's documentary on Owen Benjamin. Undercover CIA handler says, Owen's the guy who tells you to break up with your girlfriend and then he takes her out on a date. All right, let's see what we got here. People say a lot of things about him, but you know what? He's a comedian. And I think they don't know he's joking. People, look, okay, and comedy's illegal. They're trying to, this is actually an important topic. And I'll take a note on this one because I think there's an operation going on right now where they're getting comedians and podcasters to get canceled intentionally, like they're taking falls. And I think even Dave Chappelle, Chappelle's taking a fall. I think Dave Chappelle is calling out certain topics in order to make it look like he's being censored or canceled. Not because he's, I mean, one, it looks like he's doing it for clout. You know, you get canceled, you get clout. But no, I think it's because they want to make the case to the public that, hey, look, you can't have comedians spreading mind viruses. Unapproved, uncensored mind viruses. That's what they want to avoid. So like a live stream channel like this, we get censored because of the ideas that we spread. So of course, they don't want someone like Dave Chappelle to say things that borderline on the stuff that we talk about, because it would reach many millions of people. So I think they're trying to already let some of these bigger, more successful individuals in these fields take the fall for all of us. Like Joe Rogan. Is he too big to fail? No. He's espousing opinions, and because he's got a media-friendly personality and he's very popular, he's now dangerous. So the key here is popularity equals threat to the system. And I think they're right now targeting all kinds of comedians. Now, another thing, though, is that a lot of comedians in a lot of live stream channels, a lot of mostly conspiracy types like Alex Jones, will exaggerate the extent to which they're being, quote, censored. Because it gives them clout. You know, they're basically self-canceling. It makes it look like, oh, we must have something important to say. They're trying to censor us, and then it's, of course, limited quantity, time's running out. But every time I tune into Alex Jones, the world's about to end. I mean, we've already been genocided by the elite about 30 times just by listening to Alex Jones. Yeah, they already took us out. Yesterday, 2 days ago, he's like, let me bring this headline up. I get this email, and it's like, the elite are making their move. It's going to be full depopulation. And then 2 days later, it's like, wait, we're still here. So I don't think we're being depopulated. And I think the term censorship, you know, I use it kind of flippantly, but I don't mean literal, as in, well, I mean, in a way, it's debatable. Do you consider social media platforms like Facebook and YouTube to be private companies seeking after their own interests, financial gain? Are they actual legitimate businesses, or are they extensions of government? In fact, I just saw something. I think there was the government of Germany. Some judge in a German court had said something about these social media platforms like YouTube not having the right to pull people's channels just because of certain opinions. I mean, it's tantamount to censorship if it's being done on behalf of the government, on behalf of the state, and that's what's happening here. But it's nothing new. The canaries in the coal mine were the flat earthers, and nobody gave a damn, and that's done. 2018, they put out Netflix Behind the Curve with a bunch of government agents to put the final nail in that coffin, and then they buried it by banning the conversation on YouTube itself, by breaking all the networks apart, and by demonetizing anybody who had been previously making a living or financing their channel off of ads. So no, that already happened and nobody cared. So when I see anyone else crying about being canceled or censored, it's like, well, you had every opportunity to stand up for the people who were engaging in wrong think then. And even then I said, look, borderline content might be edge of the world now. But once they get rid of all the people at the edge, there's going to be a new edge. Like right now, and I predicted this many times, now they are demonetizing and taking away ads, Google ads. You cannot advertise if you have the opinion that global warming isn't happening, that the ocean levels aren't rising. If it's not your opinion, if it's not your belief that the world is heating up and that climate change is real, you can't get advertisement. You have to support the echo chamber. You have to support the echo chamber of the consensus science in order to be funded these days. This is like, in a way, it's taxation. Anything you tax, you get less of. Anything you subsidize, you get more of. Well, this is a form of not taxing, but making people pay. Making people pay for their opinions, for their wrong opinions. So they're making it, I guess you could say they're de-incentivizing censorable opinions by making it financially painful. And then you have the social repercussions. And that actually is more important to most people anyway, for a lot of reasons. So, anyway. All right, we'll be back. I wanted to test out the phones. Let me do that now, actually. I'm going to play a voicemail, and just let me know how the audio is. Just testing out. I just downloaded the app onto this computer. I like that we can just fix things on the fly. And if you look at the screen now, it says, call now, leave a voicemail, and it has the new domain, infiniteplane.radio. Okay, let's play a voicemail.
Hey, Tim, we love what you're doing. Keep up the good work. I hope you listen to this.
All right, appreciate the message. And let me go ahead and, if somebody wants to call and test out the phone, go ahead. Play another voicemail.
Hey, Tim, this is John the plumber in Florida. I've called a few times in the past. We've spoken before. I've been brought down the rabbit hole, with when you had Micah Dank on, and I bought one of his books. It was pretty good. And so, I mean, as if like Flat Earth wasn't interesting enough and Crater Earth, now I come to find out that the people that are running the world all believe in astrology, which I thought was bogus my whole life. But if the most powerful people in the world believe in astrology, I want to know why. I want to know, why are they hiding?
All right, excellent caller. And I will get back to that topic. So many things to cover. I want to talk about this later today as well. Okay, I made a big deal. Oh yeah, I made a big deal about this 42-year anniversary from Skylab, and how the number 42 has everything to do with falling objects from the sky, Satan falling to the earth, Saturn. The number 42 has all kinds of interesting connotations, and this isn't numerology. This is actual symbolism, and it's a language that we've deciphered using their context. So I had made numerous predictions, and if you look at Metascript.com, the book talks about this, about the 42nd year and what we're going to see this summer. And we've seen the space junk. We've had the stuff falling from the sky. The space junk hit the space station. I said you'd see Tom Cruise. You'd have the space station burning, accidents up there, Tom Cruise falling from the sky. And this is all the stuff that's coming into fruition. He's about to go to space to do a movie, but even last month, Tom Cruise parachuted down while shooting a scene from a movie. He parachuted in some lady's backyard, and they used sound cannons to disrupt drones that caused a bunch of cows to fall. But my point is, things are kind of falling into place. On the 42nd anniversary of this thing, and the meaning of it, man falling to Earth, the number 42 is very significant within SpaceX. You just look up Elon Musk's obsession with 42. So, on 7/11/2021, Richard Branson, on the 42nd anniversary of Skylab hitting the ground, he does this falling to Earth act. He launches up and falls down on the anniversary date. So, we're still in the 42nd year since that thing fell, and now you've got a movie coming out called Skylab, about the falling of Skylab. And my point here is I think we're going to have a repeat of Skylab. And this was the point I made in the book, that Skylab's going to happen all over again. And it almost already has. You know, back when Musk took the stage at SNL, you had that piece of Chinese space junk and everybody had their heads up wondering when is it going to fall. And before Skylab fell, it was the same thing. And that's what this movie is about. It says, let's go on a dreamy ride to 1979. Skylab is crashing in theaters soon. The post-production of the film's almost done and they're about to release the trailer. The beautiful aesthetics of 1979 have been brilliantly captured, and the film will have a wide theatrical release. The story is set in 1979 and revolves around events that took place when USA's first space station fell to the Earth. And, okay, space station falling to the Earth, calamities. Here's a word that might ring a bell, challenge. Challenger, right? You think Challenger falling to the Earth. Well, the Russians are up there right now filming a movie called The Challenge. Yeah, somebody's asking about the cow tipping. Let me go ahead and give you a little bit of background on that. Tom Cruise parachutes into field of cows which topple over in confusion. So I said in my book that Tom Cruise is going to fall from the sky. Now, I don't think it's all over yet with him, but he has already fulfilled the prophecy in symbolic ways. On the day that he was parachuting down from the sky, which again, it says that it caused a lot of cows to fall because of the scrambler. It says here it was a scrambler. It says animals fall over in confusion because of drone scramblers, and they used drone scramblers during a stunt, and it caused a whole herd of cows to fall and hit the ground. So I don't know the significance of cows falling and dying, but there he is parachuting down from the sky, and that happens. But as this is going on, as Tom Cruise is falling from the sky, the space station has some incident. Smoke alarms going off. They got fire alarms in the Russian segment of the space station. So you got a crack in the space station, fissure getting wider, beef between Americans and Russians, another crack, another fissure. And while this is going on, fire alarms, smoke alarms, talk of bringing it down, and then of course the movie's being filmed up there and it's called The Challenge. And of course the Challenge is just so proximal to Challenger. And I actually think, I saw something yesterday about this, the cosmonauts up there, they think that these actors aren't prepared, that they're not ready, that they weren't ready, that 3 months wasn't enough. So The Challenge is a 2022 film, upcoming space docudrama, the first feature-length film shot in outer space. And of course they say this unironically. It's a movie within a movie, and we all live on a big movie set. And there was a movie about the other movie, where the movie set fell to the Earth. And that's going to probably happen real as people are watching it in theaters. I mean, hopefully, I mean, not hopefully, but yeah, I mean, hopefully the ISS falls into one of these theaters with this Bollywood production and crashes into it while they're watching the movie about this. I mean, that's the level of layering that they have. But we're going to talk about all these things in depth later. I just wanted to get in here and make sure that our phones are locked and loaded. Voicemail is operational. The phone number, and let me just test it one more time. I'm going to call my own phone. Unless somebody wants to call in. I'm going to do a quick test here myself. Now again, if you didn't know, the main computer's hard drive crashed last night. I don't suspect anything. Nothing suspicious about it. Nothing suspicious about our 800 number being down inexplicably because of DDoS attacks. And I just got it fixed and the hard drive crashes. Nothing. Okay, let's see what we have here. Siri, call 833-311-1984. All right, I'm testing it. Seems like everything's going to go just fine. All right, phones work. All right, done. Okay, so phones are on, numbers on the screen. The last thing I need to fix, I'm trying to add in the chat on screen so I don't have to share the screen's the browser. I mean, I want to have the actual module in there. A couple minor things to fix. All right, and if you're not on the newsletter, I recommend it. I will be sending a newsletter out before we go live again. I want to see pictures of Tom Cruise and the cows. I find that very unbelievable. Tom Cruise's movie flattens an entire field of cows. Tom Cruise parachutes into field of cows which topple over. Tom moves. Tom Cruise flattens an entire field of cows. I want to see if I can find some video of this, but
Tom Cruise's production team KO'd an entire field of cows.
Here we go.
Security while
They KO'd an entire field of cows. I want to see the video.
filming Mission Impossible 7. Cruise was performing parachute jumps in the Lake District when scrambling devices used to prevent drones interfering made the animals collapse in confusion. The cattle got zapped as the superstar, 59, who does his own movie stunts, leapt from a chopper 4 times for his latest outing as action spy Ethan Hunt. A source explained, a high-frequency noise was used to prevent drones flying near him during the parachute jumps, but the tech was very strong and made an entire nearby field of cows fall over.
Okay, so high-frequency noises meant to prevent drones from getting close-ups of Tom, knocked the cows over, but once they switched the scrambling device off, the cows got back up and went back to normal and probably were herded into a slaughterhouse and then killed. Okay, so Tom Cruise was also in the news for something else yesterday. He's in a San Francisco Giants game, like out in the bleachers, and they closed up on his face. They zoomed in, and as soon as I saw his face, I thought, why does Tom look so much like Norm Macdonald? Recently deceased Norm Macdonald. We'll talk about that tonight, but that tweet is the most popular tweet I've ever tweeted. Tweet analytics. Yes, 15,000 people have looked at this tweet. I mean, I have a small Twitter account, and it's just because Tom Cruise does have this curious resemblance to Norm Macdonald from this particular angle. I think it's the cheeks and the chin, which are not very Tom Cruise-like. In fact, I would say the whole thing looks like a mask. And then you have the concurrent story of Tom Cruise's deepfake, because Tom Cruise has a deep fake, and this is getting really strange because it's all just piling up at once. Justin Bieber was fooled by a deep faked Tom Cruise. So there's a deep fake of Tom Cruise that fooled Justin Bieber, which I think might be fake, but Justin Bieber falls for Tom Cruise deep fake. Now again, the significance here is that Bieber's also a deep faker. In all likelihood, he's probably The Weeknd in a mask. So it's kind of funny that Bieber would be here mocking a Tom Cruise deepfake. I think they're burying the truth with layered stories. Synthetic media, how deepfakes can change our world. Deepfake Tom Cruise says, I do my own stunts. I also do my own music. Another article, Tom Cruise goes to a baseball game. The internet can't handle it. There are jokes about Tom Cruise being a deepfake. What is with all of this Tom Cruise deepfake talk? And now you have this picture of him at a baseball game where he doesn't look like himself. What is really going on here? It says, see Cruise for yourself. The stage was at Oracle Park in San Francisco. Here's Cruise, kind of hunched over like Larry King, smiling and waving. And they played Danger Zone, apparently. He's seated by his son. But it says here, Paris Hilton made a crack about Tom Cruise channeling late comedian Norm Macdonald. See, a lot of people have noticed that resemblance. And others were just confused as to why he would want to attend a ball game. It's because they know nothing happens by accident. They try to act like they're surprised. Why are people so surprised that Tom Cruise would be at a baseball game? Well, because Tom Cruise is not just one of us. He is one of them. He is a world stager. And, it just means that he's an operative within the system. And if you had any doubts about that, look at the symbolism about not just on his movies, but in his real life. Ask yourself, why did he divorce every single one of his wives at 33? And why are they all spaced exactly 11 years apart? Like, they do all kinds of weird Illuminati numerology with these world stage actors. Tom Cruise is such an utter star, he causes cows to collapse. Mission Impossible action series has the 59-year-old tipping cows when anti-drone scrambling devices scrambled their senses. Now again, this happens as the space station has a smoke alarm. Kind of interesting little bit of timing there. But he's busy doing this while the Russians beat him to the space station. And that's going to be filmed between, I think, now and, let me see, they left on the 5th. I think that the movie's only 12 days. So they'll be up there for a few more days. And then on Wednesday, William Shatner goes up there. So they've been saying, and I've been seeing a few headlines about this. So on Wednesday the 13th, note the date. So on the 13th, William Shatner's going to the space station. Fascinating. I have a few thoughts on that. But I've been seeing this word, this phrase, full house. That the ISS is going to be a, quote, full house. ISS, it's a full house on the station. It's going to be here's a good one. Aging space station is going to be a full house later this month. So it's been a while since you've had this many people on board. Kennedy Space Center, Florida, 23 years ago. Well, it's 22. It'll be 23 on November the 20th. So it's about to hit 23 years of age. So the Russian crew arrived this week. There'll be 10 people on board. With 10 people in space, Crew 3 is ready to take off on Halloween, and they'll brush elbows with the 2. Okay, so they're packing this thing full of people. That's interesting in itself. 2, it's the aging space station. The world's going to be watching, if you think about the people who are going to be up there. And then the significance of 23 is also interesting. And there's a few other that also, I believe, tie into this grand spectacle. So before I talk about the number 23, let me just bring this up. Tom Cruise's Vanilla Sky movie is being re-released this fall. And that has an interesting bit of significance to it because it starts off with him falling from the sky. It's got references to 9/11. and it came out right before 9/11, and it's got references to coronavirus. Okay, Vanilla Sky Blu-ray release date plus bonus content. And like all world stagers, there's so much significance in the names. Tom Cruise is in Vanilla Sky with Penelope Cruz. Cruz means cross. Thomas means twin. Twin cross means resurrection. As in, first cross is death, second is resurrection. These are old symbols. Vanilla Sky opens up with a scene of a quarantined New York, and he's got a cold. Ends with a corona symbol. Very, very obvious throughout. Lots of 9/11 symbolism. But the number 23, though, the significance with that, there's a book called The Number 23, which I was reading right before I read a few of the other books by the author, Robert Anton Wilson. But I was reading The Number 23 before I saw the movie, The Number 23, which is pretty much based on the book, but they don't give any credit to Robert Anton Wilson. Even though The Cosmic Trigger is about this author's synchronicities with the number 23. So he writes a book about how this number keeps popping up, and it leads him to study the Dog Star. It leads him to study the Illuminati. So it's sort of this autobiographical thing. I'm talking about a book called The Cosmic Trigger is what it's actually called, but it's all about the number 23. So this movie rips off the Cosmic Trigger like crazy. And what even further underscores this is that Jim Carrey's character is constantly referencing this number or the Dog Star. Now, the author of the book The Cosmic Trigger says, or he's conflated the two, that the Dog Star and the number 23 are synonymous. So this is their language, this is their occulted language. I don't know the rationale for that other than this is what he had explained throughout his book. But moreover, he also says that the number 23 has to do with chaos. It's the goddess of chaos, Eris. And I'm talking about the author, Robert Anton Wilson, in his book called The Cosmic Trigger. And he pretty well understood, I think, this order out of chaos MO of the elite. And so he referenced the number 23 to represent chaos. That they're the bringers of the chaos, the disruption, so they can bring about a new order. Now, in this particular book, Cosmic Trigger, about Sirius, at the end, there's a few things in here, but one of them, Robert Anton Wilson has a play he writes where stuff starts falling from the sky and the walls start, I think it's called The Walls Come Tumbling Down. Now, the significance here, though, is that when Jim Carrey in The Truman Show wakes up to the illusion, it's after the Dog Star falls. So the Dog Star falls and it causes him to wake up and realize that he's in some kind of a big dream. But again, the Dog Star, Sirius, it's a satellite piece that falls from the sky. So in other words, there is this theme here of the sky falling, of revelations from above. So this is The Walls Come Tumbling Down by Robert Anton Wilson. Deals with these scary things that happen to those who stumble into the borderless or otherworldly without any preparation or operation manual. When the doors of perception fly open and the bottom falls out of their mental filing cabinet, leaving the brain suddenly free of the limits of mind. Now, there's so many things. This individual is a prolific writer and a playwright, and there are so many themes in here worth examining. But he, more than anyone, I think, has really correlated the number 23 with the Illuminati, with the Dog Star, with Sirius, and with stuff falling from the sky. So I just find it interesting, the Dog Star, 23, space station's about to reach 23. And it seems like we're all waiting on something to fall from the sky. Probably. Probably lots of things. Asteroids, meteors, space junk. Victoria says he really did look like Norm. He looked worse than that after the treatments. He thinks he's saving the planet with Scientology. Scientology gets ripped on a lot, mostly by the left, and that's because they're anti-religion in general, even though they worship the state. And they think, oh, these Scientologists are so funny, they want to save the planet. Oh, really? Well, what do you guys want to do? Oh, well, we want to lock down the planet to save it. We want to lock down humanity to save humanity. We want to vax everybody, even the anti-vaxxers, to save them and to save humanity. Okay, so you have one group of people committed to salvation, inside and out, saving everybody, saving the world, and you have another group. What's the difference? They're both religions with the same exact agenda. They're both space religions. Victoria says Tom Cruise wants to take over the world with Scientology, and David Miscavige. He agreed not to see his daughter because Katie Holmes left Scientology and divorced him, and he's also sterile. Okay, well, Tom Cruise's 33-year-old, this is the interesting divorce pattern. His 33 problem, he split with all of his wives when they turned 33. He doesn't like 33-year-olds. I guess that's what it is. And I can understand why. Look at all the damage 33-year-olds have done to the world in the last 5 years. I could list off a bunch of them. You got Wei Lion, 33-year-old whistleblower from Wuhan that kicked that off. And if we go back a little bit, you got Timothy McVeigh, 33, Jesus, 33, Charles Manson, 33, Jake and Jelly with the spear and the coyote skin hat with the horns, 33. The guy that said bad things about Nancy Pelosi, the neckbeard terrorist at the Capitol, 33. Code Monkey Z, who was there at the symposium with Michael Lindell. Code Monkey Z, many believed him to be Q, but he's close to Q. Main driving force behind the election theft conspiracies, 33. The guy that in Australia, the guy that punched the horse in Australia, the horse puncher, and he was wearing a shirt that said free speech on it. Yeah, he was 33. Gregor Mendel Strauss, 33. Why would somebody punch a horse? But anyway, just continuing to show you that, look, there is symbolism consistent within the Kabbalistic magical systems, New Age, Scientology, Freemasonry. It's all the same symbolism. Why is that? It's because it's got the same template. When I say that the space program is Mystery Babylon for the modern age, I absolutely mean it. The same people who think that religion is archaic and sin is just a way for the priesthood to control the ignorant, they don't seem to recognize that the virus is just a replacement sin. That the wrathful God has been replaced by the heating up globe, God's rising anger. Globe's rising anger floods away the wicked, floods away the polluters. Now, there's someone in the chat here who says Hubbard was a Satanist and it's an abusive organization. No, Hubbard was a Scientologist. And is it an abusive organization? That's a generalization, and it doesn't mean anything when you consider that every other religion has systematized rape, pederasty, murder, war, enforced ignorance, exploitation, and theft. Every other religion, just historically speaking, has just been garbage for the human soul. Pretty much. I mean, you're welcome to prove me wrong, but the one thing you could say is that Scientology hasn't started any wars yet. And I say yet, because I think they are pretty much copacetic with World War III, which is a war to subjugate humanity permanently, down to the level of the individual. You won't need your 5 senses when they're done with you. You will be fully integrated into the metaverse. But I'm not defending Scientology, I'm just saying we have to attack everybody equally, to be fair. And the biggest religion of all is MSM, Establishment, Media, and Science. Now, did I mention Jim Carrey a minute ago? Yes. So let's just go ahead, before I get any further, let's talk about Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura symbolism. Because this was posted in Discord a while ago. That when he delivers the package at the beginning, he knocks on door 311. And knocking on doors is a very Masonic thing. It actually has a very significant meaning within the initiatory system, because the initiate has to take the initiative to knock. Nobody knocks for them; they have to go do it and initiate the action. Okay, so here is Jim Carrey's package delivery, and you've probably seen this where he beats the package up. It's all slapstick, so you're not really noticing that this is hardcore indoctrination, predictive programming, but he actually drops off the package during the opening segment and it's during the opening credits, which is also significant. Door 311. Okay, now next, same movie, he's running from bats. So he's running from bats and fending them off, and then afterward he's told the bats are harmless, and listen to what he says.
Ace, there is nothing in your hair.
Ace, there is nothing in your hair. So there's nothing to be afraid of, and watch what he says.
Exactly.
I was merely running a drill. I was merely running a drill.
So he runs a drill after panicking absurdly. After getting in contact with a bat.
Exactly. I was merely running a drill.
So significance there, of course, is that the bat is what kicked off 311, the worldwide shutdown. And this is just many. There's one of many. There's so many of these things, but one of many examples we could point to of bats and 311, predictive programming, all setting the stage, inculcating these symbols with meaning in advance. I mean, this is MK Ultra. It's all about triggers. It's funny you have that term trigger warning and people laugh at it. Oh, you triggered? Well, there's something valid in that. And the trigger is merely a release valve or something that you pull to let something out that was already there, that was under compression, that was suppressed or repressed. Or something that's being forcibly pressed down into the subconscious. So you may have a fear of something and you suppress that fear. Well, now by suppressed, it's like you're actually blocking it. You're consciously blocking it. Try not to be conscious of it. So you have it subconsciously, it's held down, it's under your foot. But then something reminds you of it, something triggers it, and it comes out. Whatever it is that triggers you. So you have trigger warnings. Trigger warning, this movie may contain this. And they do this because they know that many people, that we all have things that can be activated. We have feelings, emotions, we have opinions, we have just various things that are attached to things that we've perceived in the past that they can act upon in the future. And I'm suggesting that they are, in these movies, they're not only just inundating you with these things visually, but also I think they're teaching you they're like, it's almost like school. You're in a movie and now you're being taught without them explicitly saying it to associate this symbol with that. The symbol of the phoenix, for example, is one of the most common things out there, the dove. And if you just look at the implied meaning every single time it's put out there, the implied meaning is destruction followed by creation, order out of chaos. There's very little out there that isn't just pure programming. I mean, even in the characters like Batman, Joker, that dialectic there, Batman represents order, Saturnian, the structure. Joker represents chaos, the opposite of the structure of what Batman represents. So we take that into real life. You've got Joker, the Boston bomber. So Joker, or Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, but they called him Joker. So he's the wild card. He's the one that brings about the chaos. And this is part of the black and white Masonic dialectic. They bring chaos, wait for everyone to freak out, demand more tyranny to cure the problem. And sure enough, they bring it. In come your SWAT team officers all dressed up like Batman. So you have this Batman-Joker dialectic built into many psyops where the lone nut killer's the Joker. The state and their agents, their soldiers, their police, that represents, of course, what Batman represents, the order. And again, this is all just inculcated into our movies, even these dumb comedies, so that later, when they bring these symbols out, you're consciously, maybe not aware of it, but subconsciously, you're walking down a predetermined path. You've already been drilled for this. You've already lived this in virtual. I have some other things to bring up today later about General Flynn. I can't wait to talk about that. He's really this is something. This is the strangest twist yet with Q. You thought Q was weird before, and then they got the new twist with JFK Jr. and now JFK. Well, there's another twist to it now with General Flynn and the prayers that he's been using. These aren't just prayers. They're part of a group, as part of a doomsday cult called the CUT, or the Church Universal Trump. Church Universal Triumph. Church Universal Triumph. We'll talk about them later because it's a group that believed that they were in direct communication with the Archangel Michael, that they could channel him and bring about changes in the world. They believe that they actually stopped the Russians from nuking the world by going into their bunkers and praying this prayer. Well, Michael Flynn often uses phrases like angels and archangels, and he talks about how he has the same birthday as Jesus. General Flynn is easily the leader of Q, as far as like the military wing of it. If he says go, they will go. One of the last tweets, in fact, I think it was the final tweet of QAnon, came out last year, and it was a link to a YouTube video, which is now blocked. And the video was the song "We Ain't Gonna Take It" by Twisted Sister. Well, the other day, Flynn was at an event, and he started singing "We Ain't Gonna Take It." He karaoke'd the thing. And I'll play this later, because again, the significance here is "We Ain't Gonna Take It," Flynn associating himself with Q, and they're talking about the election, which is what Q was talking about. Now, you have Flynn doing these invocations where everybody's repeating after him, and someone actually did a copy-paste search of his prayers, and they're not biblical. They come out of the cult of the Universal Triumphant, or Cult Universal Triumphant, Church. So the I Am Temple Elizabeth Clare prophet, doomsday prophetess, who believed that she was communicating with the Archangel Michael and that they were stopping a nuclear strike by Russians. Yeah, that doomsday cult that didn't even die with its leader, they're still around. Their prayers are being used by Q. Hero Werner von Braun says, the 80s when drag queen hair metal demons break into preteen bedrooms and start beating up his dad. Oh yeah, that was the one. He's like, I want to rock. Victoria says, New Age politics and Christianity in one chewy nougat bar. What could go wrong? Well, you have the individual in California stabbing his kids with a spear. And they're saying that's what went wrong. And he did so on the anniversary of the Manson killings. Not a coincidence. Jake and Jelly, spear. Matthew Coleman, spear. The spear is a very significant symbolic prop. Okay, this has been great. Thanks for helping me test out the phones and everything. We'll be back at our regular time, probably even sooner. Now that I have this set up, because I'm trying to get into the habit, the routine of recording podcasts in the morning and then live streams in the evening. I had that for a while, and that worked out great. So we're back to that. And I was about to kick it off yesterday. We had a minor obstacle with the hard drive failing, but that's not a big deal. This is probably going to work out better in the long run anyway. So I'll get that fixed. You don't want to miss the symposium. I talked about it earlier, but I'm going to keep most of it in Discord. It's only in about a week and a half anyway, so there's not a lot of time to wait. So thanks for joining. I'm going to just turn this on over to SoundCloud archives while I continue to fix a couple things. And finally, if you want to leave a message, 833-311 1984. The phone systems are working just fine, and I will take messages and I will play them later on. I'm also adding an entire playlist of music to our BitChute account, and that's taken a bit of time as well, but it'll be worth it. Someone here asked if we were nuked on YouTube. Yeah, they took out 4 YouTube channels last month. Hira says, love the afternoon show time. Sadly, the car's in the shop and my desktop is at my office, so I can't work. Oh, I see. Yeah, a lot of people on the East Coast like the earlier as well. And we get more callers, I think, if we go a little bit earlier. But we'll be doing both. Hero says Mark Gold was such a bad interview, him bending over for Bezos and Musk. Yes, Mark Gold was a plant. He is a Trekkie and a plant. He's a Trekkie DJ who claims he was going to, I guess, raise money to send a flat earther into space. And I think it was a kind of a hoax to divert traffic into a strange new area. The idea that he was so tired of flat earthers that he was going to raise 250,000 to send somebody to space, that would go viral, that's just not organic. People have put up better offers. His Patreon barely made about $20 and they shut it down. It should have gone all the way up. But this is before the billionaires decided to do this themselves. And his whole thing was he wanted to go to space and take a flat earther with him and look out the window. But he's not unbiased. That's my point. He's not unbiased. I looked into him. Turns out he's a Trekkie DJ. What I mean is, he puts on Trekkie ears and then he DJs. So, nothing wrong with that. But, I can see why he's involved in this conversation. Because if the Earth is flat, then Star Trek is fake. And they don't want to have to think about that. Like, you mean all this is fake? Yeah, it's all fake. It's probably why they're sending Captain Kirk up there. They got to make sure all the Trekkies remain believers. And I think the main obstacle to passing off a fake alien invasion as the real thing, I think the main obstacle when it comes down to it is probably the flat earthers. Because out of everybody, out of all the different conspiracy theorist groups out there, the only ones that don't believe in aliens are the ones who think that space is fake. But yes, I'm glad that some people here are going to like the earlier time slots. It works better for me as well. We're also getting into print. So many things we're doing, and it's just going to require a more structured approach, but no big deal. We have it under control. I've been working on this for some time. And the symposium thing is going to kick everything off. Because it gives us a focus to the channel. Because it's not about getting information out there as fast as you can anymore, because they burn it faster than you can create it. Now it's about creating stuff that's unburnable, uncensorable. And so we're not trying to create exclusive content that only select members can access, but we are creating content that will be shareable, that can be mirrored. And that's one of the main things here. Is we want to put a body of uncensorable content up there so people can reach their own conclusions. You have these closed systems that say 97% believe, therefore, and then they have to get rid of everything else that doesn't fit in the 97%. And I'm not really of that mindset. To me, it's like, no, if 3% don't agree, let's hear what they have to say, and then go from there. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's true, it's true. You don't need people telling you, oh, you don't need to look here, nothing behind the curtain. I mean, I guess you could. It's one of the reasons why they're trying to kill curiosity. Don't do your own research. Haven't you seen that yet? Don't do your own research. DYOR. Do your own research used to be a thing. You must not do your own research when it comes to science. Listen to this. Forbes says, research both sides and make up your mind. Seems like simple, straightforward, common sense advice, but it's dangerous, destructive, and it's deadly. The techniques...
You must not do your own research when it comes to science.
Yeah, this is Forbes.com.
By Ethan Siegel.
The reason is simple. Most of us, even those who are scientists, lack the relevant expertise needed to evaluate research on our own. So that's kind of the idea here. It says the techniques that most of us use to navigate decisions, gathering information, evaluating it based on what we know, and choosing courses of action can lead to spectacular failures when it comes to scientific matters. So in other words, do your own research.
Research both sides and make up your own mind. It's simple, straightforward, common sense advice. And when it comes to issues like vaccinations, climate change, and the novel coronavirus, research both sides and make up your own mind. It's simple, straightforward, common sense advice. And when it comes to issues like vaccinations, climate change, and the...
Sorry, some robot took over the chat there. Illuminati confirmed Tim's an AI. Yeah, I know, my battery's low. Battery's low, and the humanizing voice app just glitched, and so there you heard my actual voice. Alright, this is PJ's Hoaxed World. I'll put a link in the chat.
Water doesn't curve for fuck, they give a vacuum, ain't ever thought it's fake. Telling you about spins and orbits, all vanities like little hobbits. You've never felt the orbital speed, there's no way you could stay on your feet while you're blasting in every direction. Your doom would need a redirection. You've never ever thought about this, just accepted it, that's the way it is. They've taken your mind to call it a rod, indoctrinated it with a foreign thought. Talking about their imaginary friend, helping the masses to make light bend. A concept for water on the ball, like it could stick to a wall. Vast bodies of water won't ever display the convexity a globe would portray. They clearly meet that ability, no way to form that kind of stability. And before you get off on your water drops, you have to know a thing about the ocean's tops. Cause they got waves rising and falling, destroying your fallacy about surface tension. In fact, why you would even mention. But gravity, you rush to say, a giant law with a role to play. Substitute of Abrahamic thought, result of adjustment to a dying God. You already have a Babylon 2.0, a fucking update here to run the show, and you don't even want to know. It is the same old glorification of the guy. Roman gods are above, they never die. And the theme's one hell of a genius thought. Gravity is still unproven and a fraud. And look at the theoretical black holes. They've taken money and data and their goals, presenting now pretty graphs and sheets to mix logic while it feeds.